Welcome to this latest edition in our video interview series here at iConnect. My name is Richard Albert, and along with Tom Ginsberg and David Landau, I'm a founding co-editor of this blog. And today, I'm really happy to welcome Roberto Niembro to our series on 5 questions. 5 questions that we ask to a scholar of public law. Roberto is a professor of constitutional law at ITAM and also co-chair of the ICONS chapter in Mexico. Roberto, good to see you. Thanks for saying yes to this invitation.
Thank you, Richard, for the invitation. Happy to be here.
As you know, Roberto, the purpose of this series is to introduce you and other scholars to our readers and our viewers. And so I have 5 questions I'd like to ask about you and your research and your work, and also about your academic journey to the point that you are now at. So let's just dive right in. What are you researching and writing right now?
Great. Well, I'm have 2 projects right now. The first one is about constitutional reasoning in Mexico, and mainly we have 40 leading cases that we choose with my colleague Irene Espino, and we are analyzing empirically how the Mexican Supreme Court has reasons about constitutional law for almost 20 years. This is part of a broader project that is known as Core Latam, or Constitutional Reasoning in Latin America. And that's the first project. And the second one is about litigation in social rights in Mexico. This is not very common in my country, like in other countries, for example, Colombia. And I'm reading about it and thinking how we can do it easier for constitutional or NGOs or human rights organizations to bring themes and suits to the Supreme Court in Mexico.
I know you have a lot on your plate, Roberto. You teach and you work, you're a father, you're a husband, you're a friend, you're very active in many different spheres. How do you write? How do you find the time to write? Do you have a schedule that you stick to every day of the week or a couple of days of the week, or do you just write whenever the time appears?
I usually write at nights, and I usually also write at the weekends, because as you already mentioned, I work in the Mexican Supreme Court, and I also teach con law at ITAM. So I have to, and I'm very happy to do both things, but that requires me and demands me to make another effort, an extra effort to get it done. And also I have to take care of my children. So I usually do it at night. And if I have free time, I also use it to read something related with my research.
It makes for a very busy schedule, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right.
When did you know that you wanted to be a scholar of law, a professor of law? Did you always know this from, let's say, the beginning of undergraduate years, or is this more of a recent discovery of yours?
Yes, I think I discovered when I did my PhD. I did my PhD in Spain in constitutional law, but I also went on that time. It took me 5 years, so I went to Heidelberg at Max Planck Institute and then to NYU to do my LLM in legal theory. And at that time, I knew that I wanted to have an academic career, maybe part-time, like I'm doing it right now, as I already mentioned. So it was not in my college or university, but it was doing my PhD that I realized that I wanted to follow this path.
And you had a really varied experience, didn't you, with some time in Spain, some time in Germany, some time in the US, and maybe elsewhere as well.
Right. It was great to be in the 3 places. I learned different things from each of them. And at the beginning, I went to Spain. It's very common for Mexicans to go to a European country to do our PhD in law. But later I realized that I wanted to go to the US because there is a different perspective of constitutional law. And I learned a lot of great professors there.
And now you are at ITAM, a professor of constitutional law at ITAM. Let me ask you about your publications, if I could, Roberto. But first, a question about what you read as you were learning about the law. Do you recall if when you were reading about the law for maybe the very first time or the first few years, if there was a book that you encountered or a chapter you read or a paper you read that really made a big impact on you, that today continues to shape how you approach the study of law, the writing of your research. Is there such a publication?
Yes, there is. There is a book of Roberto Gargarella. We all know him, an Argentinian professor. He has a very good book known Los Fundamentos Legales de la Desigualdad, or the Legal Foundations of Inequality in Latin America. And that book influenced me a lot at that time, and I continue using it to teach con law. So I think it was very influential in my career, and it's still what he writes, what he teaches. I'm still in contact with him and reading him a lot.
Great. So we've learned about what you're researching. We've learned about how you do your research and writing. We've learned about your journey to the place where you now find yourself. We've learned about some of the early academic influences on you. What about your publications? I know you've written many works. Could you maybe highlight one so that I can share it with our readers? Perhaps a book, perhaps an article, a chapter, and I will put a link to that publication so that our readers and viewers can learn a bit more about you and your work.
Of course. Thank you, Richard. Well, I enjoy reading and working and writing a piece that is titled Conceptualizing Authoritarian Constitutionalism. I did it when I was at NYU. My supervisor was Stephen Holmes, but I also engaged with the definition and conceptualization that Professor Tushnet did at that time. So I really enjoy it because I read a lot of things that I didn't know at the time, and I'm still working on the theme. It was really illuminating for me, and it was published in Germany in Verfassung und Recht Universell, a special law review that focused on Latin America, Africa, and Asia. It was published in 2016. Okay,
well, I'll be very happy to publish a link to that when we publish the video of our conversation. Roberto Niembro, Professor of Constitutional Law at ITAM, also co-chair of the ICONS chapter from Mexico. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know you're very, very busy, so I was very happy to be able to get a few moments of your time today.
It was a pleasure, Richard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.